Hello, and well, here we are. I'm, as I'm sure it's fairly obvious by the title, the description, etc., doing a little live session just to firstly say thank you to everyone that's subscribed to my channel. I've hit my little goal, if you like, of 250 subscribers. Obviously, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it's a little milestone for me. So, what we're going to be doing today, in my eye there, right, I'm going to look at 3 festive beers first, and then obviously I'm doing what I said I would do. I'll be having a look at, or another look, I should say, at Log Jam Smash, that fantastic, bonkers 3-year-old wild yeast saison from Lord's Brewing up in Huddersfield. The first time I ever tried it was back on the 21st of November 2020, which I did as a live review for hitting 100 subscribers. So I've gone up another 150 in 3 more years. Not a lot, but I don't do this for any other reason than basically my own enjoyment. So, first things first, we'll have a look at the first of my 3 festive beers. The open ready, I've got my glass ready, and I've decided to go from the lightest to the darkest. That means the first one I'll be looking at is from the Sainsbury's Taste for Difference range, Winter Warmer Ale. There we go. Rich, fruity and malty. So, brewed and bottled by Hall and Woodhouse down in Dorset. This one comes in at 5% in a 500ml bottle. Can't quite remember how much it costs, but a couple of quid, and it's in there that 4 for something or 3 for some, 3 for £6 or 3. It's on an offer. Anyway, so let's have a look at it. This easy drinking fruity beer is brewed using traditional British hop varieties of Goldings and WGV to give an understated noble character. This allows for fruity fig notes to give a lasting, delicious mouthfeel. So, have a look at it, shall we? So, get the lid off. See, with Sainsbury's Taste for Difference beers, it's got their Taste for Difference logo on the crown. All right. Couldn't decide which glass to use for this one, but I decided to go for my goblet rather than the tankard. Oh, that might have been a mistake. Obviously, it does concentrate the carbonation a little bit more, as you can see. Give that a second just to settle down. Whilst it does, let's have a look and see if there's anything else on the bottle. So it's just got the basics. Yeah, nothing really more on there. And that's gone down enough now. I can top it off a bit. Not quite all the way. There's still a tiny dribble left in the bottle. It does say ale with a natural fig flavouring. So I'm not the biggest fan of figs, but I have had this beer last year. I've also had the winter porter last year, so I don't know if they've changed the recipe or if it's exactly the same as it was last year. Well, give it a go anyway and see what it's like, shall we? So, what have we got? Let's say that's quite a pale amber. Yeah. Maybe halfway between a rich gold and an amber, by the looks of things. Got, well, not even half a finger now of slightly off-white head, dying quickly. Of course, very traditional beer style. You don't expect it to maintain that head as you would in a craft beer, a lager, and any other of those sort of beers. Perfectly clear. It has got quite strong carbonation. Right. It does smell quite fruity, actually. You are picking up hints of fig, but you are also picking up quite a strong malty character in the beer itself. Right. Let's give it a taste. It's quite rich. Obviously, the body is slightly thin, but on these traditional beers, you expect that, don't you? And it does have an ever so slight warming character to it. Obviously, the fig in that, those sort of Christmassy fruit flavors, it does give a slight warming character anyway. Maltiness, it's definitely there. It's a rich, almost a cakey malt in a way. So obviously, this time of year, it is to be expected, isn't it? Would I class it as a winter beer? Maybe not. For me, it's just my personal taste, of course. It's more of an autumnal beer. It's still good. It's very traditional. There's no denying that. That richness can be a bit heavy, but it does taste, well, fantastic, really. Can you pick up the fig on the taste? You pick up the fruitiness. Is it fig? Hmm, not quite so sure. Maybe a slight hint of it in there. If it has got natural fig flavouring in the beer, you'd probably expect just that little bit more of the fig to come through. It does say a great beer to enjoy alongside honey glazed sausages. Not so sure on that one either. Great beer to enjoy alongside a fireplace, maybe. I am a lover of what I call fireside beers, of course. Something nice and rich that you can sit down and pop your feet up. But anyway, so that one is the Winter Warmer Ale. It is nice. Was I expecting a little bit more? Maybe. Hmm. Does it taste exactly the same as it did last year? Pretty much. So, pretty much what I was expecting. Would have liked a little bit more in there. That's just the way of it sometimes, isn't it? Right. I better finish this one off before I go into the next one. Whilst I'm enjoying this, I will explain the next beer to you, which again, part of the Taste for Difference range at Sainsbury's. is their winter porter, full-bodied, dark fruit and winter spices. Now, I've got to say that artwork for a supermarket beer is actually quite nice. Simple, understated. You don't need more than that, do you? Of course, definitely a Christmassy, wintry beer. Porter with flavours of spice and dark fruit. I'll go into it a little bit more when I open it. And again, Hall and Woodhouse have brewed this one. I'm guessing it's going to be the same for the chocolate orange stout. Yep, Hall and Woodhouse. Now, I may be wrong. I think Hall and Woodhouse are the parent company of Badger. So it does say, it's from Landford Forum down in Dorset, which would say to me Badger beers. Of course, interestingly enough, right back at the very start of all of this, the first 3 beers I reviewed, if you like, were all Badger beers. I mean, if you watch those videos back now, it is shocking to say the least. So what I might do is pick up the same 3 beers that I did for those first 3 videos and do a review. Hopefully, it'll be a bit better than those first 3. Good evening, Tommy. How are you? Are you enjoying a beer yourself? The only thing with these more traditional beers, if you like, even when they're only, say, 5%, it's not like you can session them, is it? So it's taking me a little while to get through this one. But that does give me an opportunity to open up the fridge and show you what the final beer on this little live is going to be. So many of you would have seen this one before. I reviewed it, like I said, back in 2020. And I had another bottle at the time, which I kept. I had 2 other bottles actually at the time. One I had on Christmas Day, and the other one I did another review when it was 3 months old. Of course, Log Jam. That fantastic, slightly bonkers, wild yeast Saison. And am I mad? Going to be opening up this 3-year-old bottle. Well, we'll see how it's matured. I'm going to get it out of the fridge now anyway, let it warm up slightly. Obviously, I don't want it quite fully at room temperature, but it is ice cold at the moment, and that's not going to let the flavour develop. I have got a Lord's glass ready. Let's pop this out of the way. Now, I'll say that beer brewed with logs of silver birch and holly. It was an interesting beer at the time. Excuse me. And it certainly divided opinion, but it was my beer of the year in 2020 because I loved it. I know some people didn't, but and of course, thanks to friend of the channel Lee W up in Leeds, I do have that extra bottle now. So we'll be having a look and see what that's like. So, comments? Enjoying an Abbott Ale there, Tommy? No. I will say you're right, nothing special. It's just a simple, easy drinking Same with most Green King beers, isn't it? Oddly enough, I don't think I've actually reviewed Abbott. Might have to do that at some point. Well, even though they're not sessionable, these traditional beers, it is going down nicely. And if you like, trying to think what beer it reminds me of most. Cranbourne Poacher from Badger, of course, or maybe even Blandford Fly, because it's a bit lighter than Cranbourne Poacher, I'd say. I think you might like this one. I know sometimes you can look at a supermarket beer, taste it. When you've seen which brewery has brewed it, and then you taste their version of it, well, it's exactly the same. This doesn't fit quite in with any of the other ones that I've had, but that's a good thing, really, because it does mean that it's not a beer from that brewery that we've just repackaged. One thing I can think of is Spitfire, and because I'm looking at these Sainsbury's beers, we can draw a direct comparison there. The taste for difference Kentish ale. It is Spitfire. With the glass bottle is exactly the same. All they've done is pop a different crown on the top and a different label on the bottle. But some beers you can tell that they are the same beer, just repackaged. This one, it's not. But it is delicious. Now, finish this one off. It has got a very slightly bitter aftertaste at the back end. It's not as pronounced as think of a really good bitter beer, something like a West Coast IPA. It's just got that slight, it's almost a fruity bitterness. So whether that's coming from the fig, which can be quite a dry fruit, obviously, not dry in texture, but dry in flavour, I'm not quite sure. Goldings doesn't normally give quite a dry finish, but I don't know. At the end of the day, it was a nice beer. Winter warm ale. I didn't, now that I think about it, have a look at the actual label. As you can see, a few chaps around a fire there. It's quite a nice wintry scene. But like I say, I wouldn't class that as a winter beer. For me, it is more of an autumnal beer, but delicious nonetheless. That was that one. Put that one out to one side. And next, we're going to be looking at the porter. So, like I said, winter porter from Sainsbury's, full body, dark fruit, and winter spices. Again, this comes in at 5%. A full-bodied dark porter ale with roasted malt notes that give a depth of character which is perfectly balanced by the noble Challenger and Golding hops. The extra dark crystal malt combines with subtle spice notes of cinnamon and is a great beer to enjoy on a typical winter's day or night. Now, hopefully this one's going to be a bit more wintry, I guess. See, on the ground, the Sainsbury's Taste for Difference logo, as always. So, let's get into it. I'm not rinsing my glass out. I'm just going to go straight in. I'm not going to waste time like that. Right. Does smell good from the bottle. But this is why I'm going from the lightest to the darkest, so it doesn't matter too much if I'm not rinsing the glass out. There we go. That was a much better pour. Right. There we have it. Now, here's a dark beer. I'm not going to say it's jet black because if I hold out to the light, I don't know if you can see, there's a bit of glare there, but there's a sort of a ruby bleed through coming in at the base, and it has got about a finger, a very small finger of slightly off-white head. Looks like a porter, but it doesn't smell like a porter, thanks to that spice character coming in. So let's get into it and see what we've got here. Yes, cinnamon, straight off. I'm glad you agree with me there. Yeah, if I was going with completely different styles and mixing things up a bit, it would be stupid to leave the glass as is. But when you're going from a sort of a ruby to a porter to a stout, it makes no difference, does it? And yeah, all three of these festive beers, they are all Sainsbury's Taste for Difference ones. Just happen to be in getting some dinner, and thought, well, pick those three up for a little review. At the time, I didn't think I was going to be doing this because I hadn't hit my 250 subscriber mark at that point. But well, why not do them all in one sort of live review? So, the winter porter, cinnamon, slight hints of chocolate. There's a touch of coffee in there, and there are other spice aromas coming out. Let's give it a go. Ooh, that is nice. I had this one last year when they had their seasonal beers in. Can't quite remember what it was like back then. But it is nice. There's a slight sweetness on the front end there, which is very odd when you, in your head, you know you're drinking a porter. Not quite sure where to place that. It's not an unwelcome sweetness. I would say it is the spice sweetness coming in. The man himself, Lee W. Oh, hopefully I'll do the log jam some justice. If you have got time before you do go, have you had the 3-year-old, and am I going to regret it? That's the thing. That sweetness doesn't go away either. It does blend into the chocolate character coming from the malt quite well, actually. So I'm going to let them have that. It just feels odd to me drinking a porter and having that sweetness coming in right on the front end. But there we go. Is it that one you're thinking of, Tommy, that you can't find? So I picked that one. Well, I picked all three of these ones I'm doing before the big event up at the Taunton Sainsbury's, the big one at the motorway junction, the Hankridge Farm one, not the in-town one. So if you can't find it, that's the place to go. Trying to find the coffee in this. Doesn't have to have coffee, but I picked it up on the aroma, so I'm trying to hope that there's a touch of coffee coming from that malt. I think the thing with it is, because there's so much spice flavour in there, there's loads of cinnamon, there's bits of nutmeg, there's bits of clove. It is overpowering any other flavour. It's like you're getting just the tiniest hint of chocolate, not even picking up much malt itself, which is unusual, you know, drinking a porter. But I mean, it's a nice beer. Yes, it may have started out as a porter. You know, the original recipe before the spices may have been porter, but it's just not hitting those marks for me. But there we go. It's a nice beer. That's the main thing, isn't it? So you're leaving me to be the guinea pig there, Lee. Hopefully, I'll do it some justice. You know, I can't imagine I'm going to dislike it too much, as long as it hasn't gone really funky. I know it was quite a funky beer to begin with, but we'll see. No idea what the ABV on it is going to be now, but it was, what was it, 6.8 when it was brewed? So we'll give it a go. Yeah, big Sainsbury's, that's the place to get it. Quantock beers. Well, I've reviewed many Quantock beers, and in fact, my beer of the year this year, because we're coming to the end of the year now, it's about time to start thinking about that sort of thing. It may well be a Quantock beer, in fact. It's a beer that's third in a series of three. And I never managed to get the second of the three, but the first one I loved anyway. And the third one, in fact, I've kept the bottle because I loved it that much. It's a bit dusty now because it's been sat on my desk for so long. When did I review this one? Sometime in the summer, I think, which is odd when you think about what style of beer it is. But it was The Last Breakfast, which is a barrel aged stout at 9.5%. I do think they have still got a bit left of that. Not a lot, because it was a very limited brew. But if you can get a bottle of it, it is fantastic. And when I picked it up, me and my partner and our nephew, we'd popped out to Quantock for an evening, It must have been summer because we were sat outside most of the evening, and I thought, well, I'm gonna have to pick up a bottle, aren't I? And I did, and it's fantastic. But that does lead me on nicely to see, we know 10th of December, yep. So, what are people's beer of the year? What? That's terrible grammar. I do apologise. But I think I've already got to mine. It's going to be that. I had some other beers which were close, not close to that in flavour or style or anything, but close up. But I do think that is going to be it. I mean, for me, that it's a fantastic beer. So the first one was unbelievable, which was late night breakfast. Not quite sure what the second one was called because I missed it. I never managed to get it. But those three breakfast stouts, they made such a limited run of each one. Once they're gone, they are truly gone. So that one is growing on me nicely. Doesn't develop well, I will say that. But again, it is a nice sort of fireside beer. No, not a bad beer. Number two. Yeah, Montauk beers. Most of them are awesome. I've, I've had a couple which were a bit hit and miss, but I think generally that's just more down to me not liking the style than anything because the quality is always fantastic. I mean, if you ask me, they're going to be a brewery to watch. They were plodding along nicely as a traditional brewery for so long, and then they started bringing out a few different craft beers, and then each year it's got more and more. I mean, I've had a couple of really nice sours from them now, which is quite weird for me to say because I've always said I don't like sours, but obviously more recently I've got into them. Their stouts are fantastic. I haven't got my camera board to hand at the moment. I think it's behind the flags actually, but I do like a nice Quantum beer. In fact, go back in time to 2020 again. I think my first ever Christmas special was it must have been Rocking Robin and Brewdog, the two very traditional Christmas beers from Quantock, and they are fantastic. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know Car Park Mark from Craft Beer Hub, or as it was. I know he's taking a step back from YouTube now. Whenever he's down in the West Country, I know he pops along to Quantock and enjoys a few of their beers. The only thing I want to hope is that if they do become one of those breweries that gets, I won't say big, but more well known, they don't end up going down the Tiny Rebel and Beavertown, Camden route, and God forbid the Brewdog route, where they just get too big too quickly, and then the quality just literally falls off a cliff, because that's an easy way to ruin a brand, isn't it? We've seen it with, well, especially Brewdog, which, it's a shame. Their beers used to be so fantastic, and even now, when they put their mind to it, they can bring out a really good beer. They just happen to pump out masses and masses of really mediocre beer. So hopefully, if Quantock do become one of those breweries, there's a few breweries around the country which I think are ones to watch if you like. And I'm hoping Quantock is one of those. They're not going to go down the same route. And I don't think they would. They actually care about their beer, so that's something. Completely agree. And I'd add into that, just staying local, Cotley. Exmoor and Cotley, both obviously out of Witheliscombe. So not too far from me here. Their traditional beers were always fantastic. I used to love a pint of Barn Owl or Golden Sea Hawk, or if you go down the Exmoor route, a nice pint of Beast, especially this time of year. And I don't know what's happened to Cotley. I've not seen any of their beers in a long time. But with Exmoor, I know they have brought out one craft beer that I know of, which is of course Urban Fox. And if you ask me, that is an absolutely diabolical beer. It's, how do I put it? It's like it doesn't know what style it wants to be. Call it a red IPA, but I wouldn't call it a red IPA. Unfortunately, you are very right. And I've noticed that with a lot of other beers that I used to enjoy. Bloodhound, also from Exmoor. I know, okay, I'm going back about 12 and a half years. Me and the other half went out to a pub in, I think it was the Hood up at Kilve. So, up at the on the A39 there, and they had Bloodhound on tap, and it was absolutely fantastic. And just doesn't seem to exist anymore. Uh, Seems to be breweries, well, certainly some of the smaller breweries that haven't adapted to the changing climate when it comes to what beers are going to be popular. They just stick to a core range of maybe 4 or 5 different beers. Obviously, with Exmoor, that's going to be Gold, Stag, Fox, and then they might bring up 1 or 2 limited edition or special beers or something. And it seems to be the case with particularly traditional breweries. And the other one, obviously, being when those breweries get bought out by larger breweries. Now, big one for me, certain beers I used to enjoy a lot, and they are very traditional beers. Things like Circle Master and Fiddler's Elbow from Witchwood. Obviously, when Marston's bought out Witchwood, it was Hobgoblin, nothing else. And then they made variants of it. So he brought out the Hobgoblin Gold and the Hobgoblin IPA. King Goblin they kept, but then they did away with Pumpkin, the Halloween beer, which was a big shame because that was a fantastic beer and it was a big seller as well at Halloween. But then they started bringing out these other beers under the Witchwood label, and I would say they were just uh, beers that Marston's didn't want to put their name on. Things like the Dice Master Stout, which I tried it once and I thought, well, never again. And that's the thing, isn't it? So many great beers have just fallen by the wayside. And it is such a shame. Well, that could be a long discussion. It's not a bad beer, and I'm not gonna say it is, because I do enjoy King Goblin. It's not what it used to be. Shock horror. Since obviously Marston's bought out Witchwood, it's well, I think they dropped the ABD by 1% for one thing. That used to be, along with Exmoor Beast, one of my winter beers. I don't know. Never going to get some of those beers back, are we? Oh, at least I've got this one to enjoy. I still don't think I can call it a porter. It's really weird. It is enjoyable. I'm not gonna lie. I do like this beer. As it's warmed up a bit in the glass, there is a bit of maltiness coming out. I do apologise if you can hear Tyrion. I can hear him barking upstairs, but hopefully that's not coming through. Yeah, so like I said, there's a little bit of maltiness coming out. I'd say that's a bit brown bready. I don't know where to place this. I really don't. It is a nice beer, so that's the most important thing. Hmm. No, because it's one of those. It is what it is beers. Yes, I can see this as a festive beer. Maybe not one I would have, say, with me Christmas dinner or anything like that. Definitely a fireside beer. There's nothing wrong with that. How many of us like to pop our feet up by the fire in a country pub with a nice pint of something traditional? Maybe something fruity? Uh, Spiced fruity porter, maybe? I don't know. Hey, and that's it, isn't it? It's too thin. I know a porter is going to be thinner than a stout, but it is just too thin. It's got the body of a gold beer, something like a Badger Golden Champion or something, and it's trying to be a porter. They'd be better off marketing it, adding in some New World hops maybe, and marketing it as a black IPA, I think, or a spiced black IPA, because that spice is it's overriding. There's nothing else there. But I mean, Challenger and Golding's hops. Golding itself, you instantly think of. Oh, I think of probably one of the better known beers with Goldings in. It's going to be something like Golden Champion, or I'm not sure if 61 Deep from Marston's has got Goldings in. Thinking about it, but Wainwright's, I'm sure that's a Goldings hopped beer, and it's not porter territory, is it? Just because you've got a load of roasted malt in there doesn't make it a porter. Yes, it tastes nice. Yes, I'd drink it again. So I think Broadside's probably got a bit more body than this has, and that says something because that is just a standard sort of a ruby, isn't it? Maybe an amber. Thinking about it, it's been a while since I've had Broadside, so hmm, at the end of the day, do I like it? Yes. Is it enjoyable? Yes, to a point. It just doesn't quite hit the mark. And it's a shame, really. And it's a nice beer. It's just a bit boring, even with all those spices. It's not going to liven it up just by chucking spice in, is it? Oh, there we go. Can't have everything. Mm, it's okay. Yeah, it's very drinkable. I think that's the best I can do with that one. So that was the winter porter. They have done a nice label, I suppose, but a good label does not a good beer make. So the last of these festive ones, yeah, it is worth it. I would say if you're adding it to your shop, one bottle is enough. It's not going to be something you have two or three of an evening. So that spice aftertaste, it's going to get too much after more than one. It's it's a nice beer to have, but you don't want more than one of. Right, the last one we're going to be looking at before the main event is the chocolate and orange stout. Now, they've not really gone with a festive design on this one. It's, let's say, they're lacking a bit in the design on this completely. But let's have a look at it. So, zesty orange, roasted chocolate, dark malts. Sounds good so far. See, there have been some interesting chocolate and orange beers over the years. I will think of one from a Yorkshire brewery, which again I really enjoyed, and then some other people put their reviews up, and it was uh, washing up liquidy to them. But that was the way the orange was infused into the beer, I think. But like I say, I enjoyed that one. We all know what we're talking about here. I've had one from, bear with me, Wild Child. Again, it was one of the beers that Lee sent me down. This camera board's getting a bit tacky now, but on this side, yes, Darkness Cometh from Wild Child Brewing Co. That I really enjoyed. Bear with me, just put that back. And I think they had some other ones as well, but I don't think I've got those on that board. Anyway, we'll have a look at this one, see what it's like. This stout combines the finest roasted chocolate and crystal malts. Good start so far. If you're going to make it chocolate and orange beer, you're going to have to use chocolate malt, aren't you? With subtle notes of dark chocolate and orange. The dark malts help deliver a full-bodied stout. I've heard the words full-bodied before and found a very thin beer, but we'll reserve judgment. But it's perfectly balanced with chocolate and orange notes to give a smooth, lasting mouthfeel for that perfect, indulgent winter drink. Right. That again comes in at 5% on a 500 ml bottle. Seems to be a bit of a theme there. Yeah. Give it a crack. Now, like I say, this is one which wasn't in the range last year. If it was, I didn't manage to find it and try it. I can already smell orange. Actually, a little bit overpowering. Yeah, we'll see. Kill off that head a little bit because I want to get the last drop in. Let's have a look at it anyway. So, it's a solid finger there, very fluffy, almost a mocha coloured head actually. Doesn't look too bad. Is it jet black in the glass? No, it's not. That's clear ruby bleed through at the base. Points off already. So if it's letting that much light bleed through, is it really going to be full bodied? Well, let's find out. Right. It's almost an overpowering orange aroma. And it's not a very pleasant orange aroma, I have to say. Maybe this is what people were thinking of when they tried that other famous chocolate and orange beer. I am getting a slight hint of dark chocolate on the aroma. It is too slight for me. The way I look at it is, if you're going to smell a chocolate and orange beer, you should essentially get the aroma of a chocolate orange. The famous confectionery. And there is a slight soapiness to that. Might just be the aroma. Let's have a look at the taste. Well, that is cloyingly sweet. It's disappointing. It's drinkable. You know, it's a basic. It is drinkable. It's not something you're going to chuck away. It's not where it should be. Not by a long shot. There's a very sharp bitterness in there as well. And it's not, you know, the bitterness of dark chocolate. It is practically a pointless bitterness. This they haven't. They put what malts, but they haven't put what hops they've used. I wouldn't be surprised if there's Bramley Cross in there. And that doesn't work in that beer. Might not be Bramley Cross. There's something like that that I can pick up out of the beer. It's got an astringency to it. It's not so heavy that you can't drink it, but you can feel it, and that it makes it such a disappointing beer. Body wise, Dare I say it? There is none. You know, that porter didn't have enough body to be a porter. This stout definitely hasn't got enough body to be a stout. That is disappointing, I have to say. But, you know, there we have it. Hmm. There's a bit of weight to the beer. I'll give them that. But things that doesn't translate into a rich, velvety body, they're missing the point somewhat. Oh, there you go. It is just one of those things, I suppose. I am very disappointed in this. I was looking forward to a nice stout, but I have to settle for a mediocre one. Hmm. Might set back to one side for a minute, and I'll finish it off after the main event. But for now, I'm going to disappear very briefly. I have to visit the facilities, as it were. So I will pop up the old. There we go. So I will see you in a few minutes. I am back. I'm just having a quick something that I can't talk about on YouTube. So do excuse me for a little while whilst I just finish this off. Well, trying to get into this and I just can't. Anyway. Right. So take that one off now. Okay. So the main event, as it were. I do have the Lord's brewing glass ready. So it had to be in the correct glass. That's cooled down enough, or warmed up enough. Come to room temperature a little bit, but not too much. That's the one, isn't it? So, as before, Old Jam Smash from Lord's Brewing Company. A wild yeast saison. Single malt, single hop saison. Fruity farmhouse saison fermented with wild yeast from logs of holly and silver birch. Marisotto malt and SARS hops. If you've been with us on the journey on Instagram, this is 3 years outdate, mind you, this info. And YouTube, we hope you enjoy this beer and thank you for participating in its creation. This is your beer. Now, like I said, back in 2020, this was my beer of the year. Yes, it was interesting. Divided opinion slightly. For a Black Crown. But I enjoyed it. Now, this is going to be one of two things. It's either going to be absolutely fantastic or I'm going to go blind and or mad. Right. So, put the bottle opener back away. No carbonation rush when I open the bottle. Oh my. That is vinous. I think, actually thinking about it, definitely had a vinous character on the original taste. I can smell it. It's you can smell the ABV, that's for sure. I would love to know what the actual ABV on it now is after it's been sat in a bottle maturing for 3 years. But here it is. So, Log Jam Smash, 3 years later. Let's go with no carbonation. It's actually a bit clearer than it was originally. Yes, it is, but it's not that murky brown colour anymore. It's more of an orange beer. Actually, though, thinking about it, there is a bit of carbonation sticking to the glass. It is a clean glass, you know, as I wash all my glasses, boiling hot water. So there's nothing stuck to the glass, as it were. The bubbles are hanging around. Right, the aroma. And if somebody can please tell me why I'm doing this, I'd be much appreciative. Actually, that doesn't smell bad. I think the word I would use is spiritus, which does make me question what the ABV is now. guessing it was bottle conditioned. Pretty sure. Back then, all of their bottled beers were. I think Silver Spur, Chosen Man, Mount Helix, all those fantastic beers I used to enjoy. So, there's only one thing to do, isn't there? So, the aroma is alcohol and vinous red fruit. There's not much more I can say on that. And on the taste, here goes nothing. Firstly, I'd like to raise a glass to the fantastic John Slumbers, who until recently was obviously the MD of Lord's Brewing. Good friend of mine, designed the logo for my channel, which see I am sporting now, and designed the logos for many other channels actually. So, here's to you, and obviously all of the team that were there 3 years ago who made this, Trigger Mike and everyone else, and anyone that's still there. I know Mike is still there. So I'm not putting it off, just to make that clear. I just want to give my thanks to a fantastic team at one of my favourite breweries. Here goes. Well, what can I say about that? I wouldn't class that as a Saison anymore. That's a sour. And it's not a bad sour. There's raspberry in there. There's plum. Yes, it's vinous. It's lost that porty character, the fortified wine essence it had originally. I mean, it's lost the murkiness. It's lost the carbonation, which means that obviously all the sugars have been used up by the yeast. It's actually rather fantastic. Not quite sure what I can say about that. Now, if you like a sour beer, that is the beer to have. Not that you'll get one now, obviously, but it's absolutely delicious. It's got a warming character, definitely picking up whatever ABV it is now. It's not quite getting into barley wine character. You know, it's still a beer, but it is. Well, what can I say? Probably one of the best sour beers I've ever had. I'm not quite sure what to say now. It's actually fantastic. I mean, Mike and the team up there now, if you're catching this video, either now or after I've finished filming, if you've got any left, I'd be interested to know what the gravity levels are now, what the ABV is. And I tell you what, you market that as a sour beer, it would fly out. It's smooth. There is a very, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's not, I've had soured ciders before, and some of them have ended up vinegary. It's not vinegary, it is just the sourness coming through. Full of red fruits. The only thing which does, in a way, let it down for me is, and it's to be expected, it's been sat in a bottle for over 3 years. There's no carbonation anymore. But that is absolutely stunning. I wasn't quite sure what I was letting myself in for. Yeah, when I said I would review it at 250 subs, I thought probably will never hit 250 subs, so it doesn't matter. And I could have just attempted it whenever I wanted. But that is truly fantastic. Well, if anyone has still got any left, enjoy it. I can't make that a beer of the year, really, can I? Since it was released over 3 years ago. I would do if I could. That is so good. Oh my god, that's bizarre. It is truly bizarre. What more can you say? Obviously, there's no bitterness on there. It's just fruit and sour. I know a traditionalist would say a sour isn't quite a beer anyway. For me, it is. Just look at that. And I think back to 2020 when I first enjoyed this, and it was that murky brown beer with all sorts of sediment up and down through the beer. Very enjoyable. Had to be. I made it my beer of the year. But when I look at it now, it is a perfectly clear beer. And if I wash it around the glass, it's really got legs. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but that's really got legs to it. It is truly amazing. Well, I don't know what to say now. What a way to celebrate hitting a mini milestone on my channel. Enjoying what was one of my favourite beers from one of my favourite breweries, and it's now become even better. Do you know what? I wish I'd bought maybe 12 bottles of it at the time. If it's like that now, what's it going to be like in a year? 2 years? I just look at the bottle now. That's before 06/21. Oh, we're only 2.5 years past that, I suppose. And it's not gone past its best. It is even better. So, on that note, cheers to you all. I'm going to finish up now because I've been on for just over an hour and 20 or so. And it was just going to be a quick get through these 3 festive beers and then the main event. I think I'm going to put my feet up, enjoy that one, and then finish off that mediocre stout. I'm shocked. I don't think there's much more I can say, is there? If you like a sour, it's a beer for you. Just a shame you can't get it anymore. There we have it. The greatest beer of 2020, even better now. Of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't end off with the classic. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down there. And of course, until next time, happy drinking. So, I'm going to finish off now, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for helping me hit my 250 sub mark. And if I don't see you beforehand, a very joyous Yuletide season to you all, whichever of the Yuletide festivals you'll be celebrating. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, God Yule.